Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's on-demand webinar with TimeSolve. Today, we are talking about leveraging mid-year metrics to boost your productivity. Sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty great. Let's talk about some numbers and how we can get more out of what we're currently doing, right? The name of the game here is to understand where we stand, right? Understand where we stand. Understand our financial and productivity and individual professional health and what we can do to be more productive. So let's just go ahead and get right started. My name is Joyce Bradford. I've done several of these presentations with you so far. I'm licensed in North Carolina. I'm a practice management and legal tech advisor. I've been doing this since 2011. I'm currently in enterprise sales for ProfitSolve, the parent company of TimeSolve, and I absolutely love this product. Over the course of my career, I've worked with thousands of law firms to help them become more productive and more successful. And every law firm is unique. I know that it's kind of a cliche to say that every business truly is unique, but that's where we are. Even if you're in the same practice in the same town, what you do, what you provide to your clients is unique to you. And most of us who are interested in TimeSolve are solo practitioners or small firm providers. There are some of us who are great big giant providers and who are interested in integrating time and billing into a larger tech stack or a larger suite of technological solutions that we use for our firm. But most of us are trying to do this on a very tight budget with very little time. So the more we can do, the more we can do as a software company like TimeSolve to provide you with the right answers, the right reports, the right metrics to help you make good decisions, the better off you're going to be and the better we feel about the service that we provide to you as our clients. So let's just jump right into this here. The objectives. Today, our objectives, let me go back to this. Our objectives are to look at the KPIs to measure. What are KPIs? KPIs are indicators that look at patterns within your firm. Can a KPI itself save your business? A single KPI? Probably not, right? There's some that could just so radically change in a positive way overnight that could make you a millionaire. But most KPIs we look at to form a to give us context of what's happening in a business, right? So we know where we need to focus our efforts, our energy, our money in order to improve the service that we provide and ultimately to improve our bottom line, because none of us do this as a charity. Even if we do it for very little money, we still need to keep our lights on, right? The next thing we're going to do is maximize efficiency. We're going to learn how to leverage metrics to identify inefficiencies in our workflows and make data-driven decisions. Now, if you're anything like me, anytime you see the word data, and if you see it twice, one's data, one's data, it happens. But don't worry about it. Data, it's yours. How are we going to use it to maximize efficiency in your firm? And then financial health. We're going to understand how to use those KPIs, how to become more efficient, to ultimately become more financially sound, and to make decisions that drive revenue growth. That's important for us here. So let's just dive right in, right? What KPIs do you need to measure? And I would say for all TimeSolve users, you need to look at 3 types of KPIs: financial productivity, individual performance, and billing activities. Now, I don't want you to furiously write things down right now. We're going to get into each one of these a little bit more, but financial productivity is generally exactly what it says. How healthy are you in terms of the money that you bring in, the money you have sitting around your law firm right now, both in assets and in your IOLTA account? How much money do you have sitting in your accounts receivable, right? Where's the money and how are you going to get it? How are you going to claim it as yours, right? Individual performance, we're going to look at how successful your individuals within your firm, if it's just you or your team, are. How many open matters do they have? How are they billing? How are you comparing to budget? And then, of course, your billing activities. And this I've separated out from everything else because it truly is, when we're looking at individual performance or firm performance, we need to look at billing activities. How many hours are we billing? What's our optimization rate? How much are you billing? So the quantity of hours and the value of that time. And then of course, how much you're collecting on that. All of those things matter. So let's just jump right into these things. And first and foremost, we have financial productivity. And this, our top line question, is what people generally think about when we talk about financial productivity. And that's how much revenue are you generating right now? This should not be hard for you to find out, but a lot of us, if we're just doing all right, don't always run the KPIs the way that we should, but you need to be looking for 30, 60, 90, 180 days, even further than that, if you'd like to. How much revenue are you bringing in? And the reason it's important to do this, not just for right now, but to look at it over the past several months, even the past several quarters, is to find those patterns of revenue. You're probably not bringing in the same amount of revenue every month, and we need to find out why. So, if I'm looking at my revenue this month and I see that it's significantly lower than it was last month, there are a couple of things that I need to understand, right? Has my accounts receivable gone down significantly? Did I do a really good job of collecting last month? And that increased my revenue, not necessarily from new matters or matters that were recently closed, but from outstanding invoices. Did that create an artificial bump in my revenue last month? I need to know that as a business owner. That is important for me to understand. Right? Was there something else around my revenue generation last month that is endemic to my particular practice area, right? So maybe I have a practice area that really takes off in the fall. Maybe I'm a real property attorney focusing or have a really strong relationship with some local realtors, and we close a lot of personal property in the summer and the fall because that's peak season, right? Maybe that's happening, right? Maybe I've got commercial businesses that like to have summertime closes. Maybe I've got an education business that really takes off in the fall when IEPs or matters around education really come to a head, right? So whatever it happens to be, I need to understand my practice area. And if my revenue is cyclical based on my practice area, is there something I can do to buffer that out over the course of the year? Is there a way for me to bring on a complementary practice area to account for the lulls in my revenue? Or do I just need to get better at collecting, right? But I'm not going to know that. I'm not going to know that unless I look at my revenue month over month. But there's so much information to be gleaned, and so many questions that will come up for you just as you run that one top line number, right? I want to definitely know, my second question here, how much money is frozen in accounts receivable? I've earned that money. I've done the work. How much money is frozen in my accounts receivable? Now, there are lots of ways to get that money out of there. First and foremost is to have a really consistent billing and collections process. When I bring on a new client, I am going to tell them in my fee agreement, I need a credit card for you on file. Not because I necessarily want to bill against it, but it's because if you don't pay me, I am going to bill against it. I'm going to give my clients an opportunity to pay me in an alternative way, but I want to have that billing on file. Now, if you have a practice area that's really resistant to that and you choose not to have a billing methodology on file, you better have a very strong collections process. You have a standardized SOP and you have templated emails that you can send right out. Do not make it challenging for you to run collections. Do not consider every client a special snowflake. This needs to be a process. There needs to be a procedure in your firm to send out reminders that an invoice is due. Now, you can send those directly from TimeSolve. This is a solvable problem, but you need to have those templates ready to go, right? If I don't have a billing methodology on file, I'm going to explore something like payment plans. And we're going to get into this in a little while, but it's important to know that reducing your AR to zero is possible. But this last piece, question, have those numbers changed in 6 months? I mentioned the cyclical nature of revenue, the cyclical nature of AR, the cyclical nature of financial health within a firm. You need to understand what your cycles are, It's just necessary for budgeting and for understanding the health of your firm. And I don't want you to get into a panic if in July you don't have as much revenue as you had in January, if that is really how your firm traditionally or historically performs. If you need more revenue, we can find ways to bring in more revenue, right? We can get creative on that. We can find more clients. But you just need to know what your baseline is to understand if you're going to meet your goals for 2023. All right, that's financial productivity. Hello, financial productivity. Let's go over to individual performance. Now, of course, individual performance matters a lot if you're managing a team. If it's just you, these pieces matter as well, so you can understand how successful you're being with your time. One of the things that I found as I went through law school and have been on this career path is lawyers are really good procrastinators. I mean, y'all, we have it down to an art form. Some might even call it a science, but we're very, very good at it. What I'd like for us to all do is get better at managing our time. It's important. So how many open matters are you working right now? What's just on your plate? Let's figure that out. How many matters have been opened for longer than a normal period of time? And how do you compare to your budget on each one of those? Are you overbilling your hours? Right? Are you underbilling? Have you had these matters open for longer than they should be? Do you have a roadblock in there? If you do, it's possible that you just haven't had that individual urgency or a specific deadline for a task on a matter that pushes you over the edge to get to that next phase in the life cycle of that matter. And don't beat yourself up if that's the case. It happens to all attorneys, especially attorneys in solos and small firms. It just does. Even if the majority of us are type A, we are type A procrastinators, and that's a little bit of an oxymoron. It's the truth, though. We like to be in charge. We like to know what's happening. We like to have a calendar. We like to tell people, well, you didn't tell me that and I didn't get that detail, so I'm not going to be accountable to it, because we are litigious folks. But we're also procrastinators. So understand your own individual performance. Where are you with your tasks? How many matters are you opening? How many matters are you closing? And where are you? If you told someone that it's going to take you a specific number of hours to close a matter, and I think I might have glitched there, so I'm going to go back. If you told a client that it's going to take you a certain number of hours to close a matter, but you don't have a hard timeline on this and you don't have a firm deadline coming up, it's possible that you've only built a quarter of your possible budget, right? Because it's just not closing down. That is a great way to get a claim filed against you at the state bar. It just is. Now, maybe that's not your particular case, but I have seen that a lot. So put deadlines on things, right? Have your task manager work it, use it, bill your clients, and have that timer running. You're not going to know how productive you are if you are not using the timer. Now, luckily for you, TimeSolve has brilliant timers. You can have multiple timers running at the same time. So as you're moving from task to task, you just click play. You turn on the task you're working on, and you aren't having to enter in new task details every time you open a new task. You're just clicking play on the correct one. You also have an option directly on your desktop, but you need to be utilizing these tools to understand where you are in your own individual productivity. I want to talk to you about billing activities. This is another KPI that you just need to be aware of. How many hours are you billing? And we just mentioned this one with the timer. How many are you billing against your total available time? That's your optimization rate. And of course, how much are you collecting? These are all extremely straightforward, and you can run these reports incredibly easily right within TimeSolve. You don't need to run it anywhere else. You can get this information directly within TimeSolve. But if you don't know this information, then again, you don't know where you need to focus your time. You might feel exceptionally busy, but you're not actually doing billable activities, or you're not doing work that can be credited on an invoice to you or in a description that justifies the amount that you are charging your clients. So maybe we need to get more focused. Maybe we need to get strategic about how we schedule our time during the day. But you need to know your total optimization rate. You need to know how much you are billing out to your clients. That's hourly, flat fee, or contingency rates. And you need to know how much of that you are actually collecting. It is an essential KPI. So let's talk about roadblocks. Let's talk about efficiency generally, right? In order to be more efficient, we have to find the roadblocks here. This can normally be found around those time metrics. Where are you slowing down and where are you having trouble closing the loop? So looking at the life cycle of a matter, where your matter spending the most time, right? Is it in discovery? Is it in collecting signatures from someone down the hall? Is it getting information back from your clients? Whatever it happens to be, you need to know that so you can put solutions in place to eliminate that friction, because that's all it is. And friction does slow things down. And it's easy to think, oh, well, we're in a business and not think about, Newton's laws here, right? But we need to. And if we can think about our law firms as a math problem with just certain variables that need to be discovered and a total equation that needs to be solved, we can get this solved for you relatively quickly, right? But understand where you're slowing down and understand where you are having trouble getting something from one phase in a life cycle to another, or having trouble just actually closing a matter, right? I go back to this because this is something that law firms complain about pretty significantly, and that's how much time they spend or don't spend on collections, and that relates to how much money they have in accounts receivable. So if you are challenged here, absolutely look at TimeSolve Pay. Look at workflows that you can add on top of your matters. Look at the templates for matters that you can add within TimeSolve to just say, boom, this is the roadmap that I have to follow, and I can stay on track, and I can get paid at every single step of the way. That leads us directly into missing revenue. Where are you light on billing? Where are you slow to bill, and where are you slow to collect, right? Again, if we're not running our timers, if we're not running our invoices regularly, we don't know, right? But I want you to know. I want you to fully understand exactly where, and I think I might have glitched there again, so I'm going to go back. I want you to understand how much you should be billing versus how much you are billing right now. It's not reasonable for you to bill 8 hours a day. It's just not. It is reasonable for you to bill 4 hours a day, to be working on matters for your clients. That is not administrative work. That's not non-billable work. Even if it's a flat fee, I need for you to be working at minimum 4 hours a day on your clients, right? Unless you've just magically figure this out and you have tons of revenue and you don't have to work at all, I guess that's fine, but most of us don't, right? So make sure you're at that at least 4 hour mark most days. Are you slow to bill? From the time you complete work on a matter to actually invoicing that matter, what's the time frame there? Where does that stand? If it's more than a month or more than a few weeks, you need to reevaluate some things, right? I want you to bill on a consistent timeline every month, every 2 weeks. Most folks bill every month. That's just the way this works out for the majority of law firms. And I want to look at your collections rate after that. If your clients know you're going to bill them that month that the work was completed, then they're going to be expecting an invoice. How challenging is it for them to pay you? Are you expecting them to come into your law firm with a check? That's going to make it a lot harder for them to actually pay you, right? Have automated billing. Have it set up, make it easy for them. And if you don't do that, make it easy for them to click a link and pay you with a credit card. Boom, 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 you're done. And then of course, where can you streamline? Where are you duplicating work or working harder than you should to accomplish a task? Most of the time, this can be found again in the collections area, but we have beaten that horse. It's also found in getting information back and forth between you and a third party and collecting signatures. This is where I really want you to look at the signature collections tool and the document tools that you can pair up with TimeSolve. They have some amazing tools to just make it incredibly easy. Share and receive documents, collect signatures back, share comments with folks. It can all be done within some of the complementary tools within TimeSolve, but definitely take a look at that. If you aren't using the document signatures and portal tools that Cosmolex has with the sister companies, then you need to call TimeSolve today and make that work for you. And then of course, financial health. So those KPIs to improve the financial health of your firm. What can you do? What can you do right now? What are the practical steps you can take to improve your financial health? Again, this is about billing process. If you are consistently tracking what you are doing, and this is, again, use TimeSolve to make this happen for you. Track your tasks, track your items, track what you've done for your clients. Make sure that that appears on your invoices. You should not, at the end of the week, go back and fill in your timesheet about what you've done. Absolutely not. You need to be doing this as you go within TimeSolve. And worst case scenario, you need to be doing it at the end of the day. If you are doing that, you can bill quickly and you can bill with details, but you've got to maximize your timers. You've got to maximize the tools that are available to you. If you are not, you are wasting your time and you're leaving money on the table. In order to quicken your collections, again, you need to bill consistently and you need to integrate TimeSolve payments just as part of your process. It has to happen. And I want you to create billing and collection SOPs. What is your process? When you're running your invoices, what do you look for in your open invoices? How do you reconcile any errors that you see there? What's your process to finalize invoices? Now, so much of this can be done automatically within TimeSolve and make this process very, very easy for you. But you need to understand exactly what it looks like, because if you are training additional staff members, if you have a team now, or you plan on growing or expanding, you need to know what this looks like today, right? And then, of course, I want you to reduce your accounts receivables. Again, create that collections plan. Now, I'm a big fan of reminding people that payments are due. So I like to send out an invoice to a client 10 or 15 days before I'm going to bill against a credit card that I have on file. So here's the invoice. You have until this date when your credit card is run. If you'd like to pay me with a different methodology, please feel free. And again, you can send them a payment link in that invoice so they can pay you with a different methodology. And then when the invoice is run, there's not an open invoice. Right. So when it's time to run that bill, there's not an open invoice, and their credit card on file is charged $0. Right. If they don't want to use it, but you have it. So I like a 10 or 15 day buffer between an invoice and when it's run. If there's not a payment methodology on file, then I like to say payments due at a specific date. And that's generally somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 days after the invoice is sent to the client. I am a big believer in sending digital copies of an invoice with a payment link attached. In that invoice, there's a payment link. Click this button to go and pay me right now. I'm going to make it really, really easy. And if they haven't paid me within 15 days, even if it's before the due date, I might send an automated email and say, hey, invoices were sent out on specific date. Please remember to make that payment. Here's the link to pay. Easy. So they aren't late. I know that sounds like it's onerous, but it's truly not. Not with TimeSolve, not with the tools that are available to you. 15 days after a payment is late, send another invoice reminder to your clients. 30, 45, 60 days, keep it going. And once you get to that 45 or 60 day mark, it is worthwhile to enter into or to attempt to enter into a payment plan with a client. I don't want you to do this in an ad hoc way. I want you to say, this is the payment methodology that we have. We're going to define the specific amount that you can pay month over month. We're going to have a payment methodology on file. It's going to be your credit card, and I'm going to bill against it. And if they can't pay you $500 every month, okay, can they pay you $100 every month? Can they pay you $50 every month? Whatever it happens to be, we're going to whittle that accounts receivable down as quickly as we can. But the easiest way to reduce your accounts receivable and just to get to zero AR is to have a payment methodology on file when they open a matter with you. That is the right way to do this. All right. If you have any questions about what you've seen here today, and I hope that you do, please reach out to the TimeSolve team. You can reach them at that 1-800 number, 715-1284. You can reach out to them by email, support@timesolve.com. But the best way to get in touch with the team is to actually go to the website, timesolve.com, and either use the chat tools that are available or request a demonstration from the sales team. Get familiar with it. If you have a TimeSolve account, it is worthwhile to contact support, get additional training, integrate payments, understand how to use templates and communicate with your clients directly from TimeSolve. Understand how to get those KPIs from that set of reports that are already there for you. You don't have to build anything. It's already there. And if you don't have an account, please set up a trial. see what happens. See if you like it. You're practically guaranteed to like it. Most people who start a trial with TimeSolve actually become clients because it's very good, very, very efficient software. With that, I'm going to leave it here. Again, thank you so much for your time today, everyone. This will be available on demand for you to see at any point in time. And thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful summer.